HomeTech Podcast for Friday, July 8th. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Powell, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome everyone to HomeTech Podcast. This is a podcast about all aspects of home technology and the latest news that doesn't exist in the home technology world. Holy moly. It has been a dry week. We actually have two HomeTech headlines, which we were just going to brush past and talk about some other stuff. But I guess something we missed in the past was this big dog announcement. I've known about it for a while, but I didn't know. I guess I forgot that they were announcing it at ISE. And anyway, if you've heard of the company Metra, they have come out with a product line called Big Dog, and it's like, if you're familiar with the Wattbox brand, it's kind of the same thing, but instead of orange, it's blue. And instead of having the oversea built in, they were like, oh, we'll just make our own. So pretty interesting product lineup they have here. I think they have a individually 12 controlled model, and it's like 13 outlets on that one. So it's a 13. I think there's a 5, a 3, and maybe a 9 as well. And they also have like a little plug-in module. Like I have one right here, actually. I worked on their driver like a year or two ago I think they were at CEDIA showing this stuff off. And they were like, we want to have a driver for Control 4 working at CEDIA. And I made one up real fast. And I was like, hey, guys, test this at your booth. Let me know if it all works. And they just kind of like disappeared. And turns out it worked great. And they were like, oh, yeah, we've already been sending this out to dealers who are using it. So yay for software that works. It's very rare that happens to me, so I can't complain. But it's actually pretty cool. I shared in our channel kind of like what the dashboard looks like, and I'm not very familiar with what Oversea looks like these days, but like this is a pretty clean interface. It kind of shows you like your clients and everything as a dealer, and it's got like all the outlets. You can switch them on and off, and you can set it up to reboot an outlet or an outlets or all the outlets or sequence of outlets if the internet goes down or something like that. So, or it also has temperature sensors in it as well, I guess, and some like IO stuff that you can put into some other kind of automated system that could tell it to reboot if you wanted to. There's all sorts of stuff you could do with the rack mount modules. The other ones are just the little ones, just a plug-in module that monitors and you can turn it on and off and that kind of thing. So I don't know, thought it was pretty cool, but there's a bunch of conversation over in the hub about it today. Because I guess I forgot to talk about it. Looks pretty neat. TJ, you seem pretty excited about it.
Yeah, honestly, one of the reasons I joined up with Snap AV is just for the Wattbox. I don't buy anything else through them because I just want some kind of hardwired solution for whenever I need to reboot things. There are plenty of Wi-Fi outlets out there if you just need to reboot like a basic, cable modem or Wi-Fi router, whatever it is. But if you want some kind of like nice, rack mounted hardwire Ethernet solution, you pretty much have like one or two options. I think somebody was saying that Panamax, their Blue Bolt lineup, has a hardwired solution. Wattbox obviously has one. And then now this third company has one as well. And Metra is pretty well known. People buy all kinds of HDMI cables and all kinds of accessories through them.
Yeah, if you're in the 12 volt market, like literally every cable harness ever. Like if you buy a car stereo to swap out the cable harness that comes from Metra, like it's I think they have the market cornered because I've never been able to find another brand that does it. They do like the OEM like connector on one side and it all kind of bolts up together. So it's a good company.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't realize that was the same company, actually.
Yep.
Because I've bought Metra like car harnesses before. So.
Yep. What's neat about the bigger ones, the rack mount ones, they have the swappable MOV devices that you can kind of like pull out. Like, so over time, surge protectors kind of lose their juice, I guess. They lose their ability to protect against surges, and there's really not a point in time where that has happened if you have like a traditional surge protector installed. I guess it just goes bad when it gets hit by the next surge or something, but these have like removable modules that you can pop out and put in when they have lost their effectiveness, so to speak. And there's actually like, if you go into the dashboard, there's actually like, you can see how many surges and what the electrical has looked like in the past going through it. You can see when you've had power outages and all that good stuff. So I thought that was actually pretty cool that like you can buy this thing. It's got some outlets in it. It's got some smarts to it, but also if it goes bad or one of the modules goes bad because it got hit by lightning, potentially you just swap the thing out and the rest of it should work fine.
It looks like on this too, they have some kind of antenna adapter. Is that for Wi-Fi? Do you know?
It's Wi-Fi, yeah. So
that's,
you can hook
that's
them up.
awesome. All of them have that.
Ethernet. I think it's Ethernet or Wi-Fi on the bigger boxes. Yeah.
See, that's crazy because I don't think Wildbox has anything that's Wi-Fi itself. They have some smaller ones, I think, but not anything big like this. So you could put this in, a relatively remote place where you still have Wi-Fi, but maybe you don't have hardwire Ethernet and still be able to reboot things.
I didn't even think about that, but that's a good point. Yep, 13.9 outlet model. I think there's a 3 outlet model because that's kind of a popular thing for like behind TVs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the 3.1 is the smallest one with a hardwire Ethernet spot. They do have a single one, but it's Wi-Fi only. It looks like
it's just
it's covering all the bases.
Yeah, and the single one is nice because it like the back of this like rotates, so the outlet actually rotates around, so you can actually get the powered outlet out of the way of the other outlet. It's kind of nice. They actually thought that through. Like it doesn't just take up the entire outlet. Like you can just move it out of the way. So Gavin, you sitting there like, what is this again? Like, why am I doing this? Why do I need this?
No, I'm sitting here like it's 2022 and we're still solving problems by rebooting things.
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
yes.
That's something that we will never get away from is having to reboot things.
Nope. My entire day Friday, half of my day, I thought I was going to sit down and start doing something, but like at noon, I was looking at Amazon and I was like, we were getting like a bunch of like support messages come in. Like there's a support message that gets like relayed back to me. I'm like, when I start seeing more of them come in, I should go check the Ring server and see what's going on. Well, there was a server that Amazon decided to spin up like 21 days ago and then just put out a commission. And I could not get that server to go away out of the state it was in. It was just like in a bad way. And the good thing about it is that because everything like kind of auto scales, like in theory, it would add a new server and everything would auto scale over to it. I guess that wasn't happening correctly. So even after I had tested it for whatever reason, there was an error on Amazon's side, and whatever health check it was trying to do was saying the server was down when it wasn't down. Like I could go to the server and get my information off of it just fine. But for whatever reason, Amazon's like own health program, like the little program that lives on the server that checks its own health, wasn't running. And it was just saying the server's down. So yeah, the Amazon bill is going to be kind of big, kind of double this month. And that was my fire. But guess how I fixed it, Gavin? I just rebooted it after all day of looking through logs and rebuilding servers and like trying to kill instances to see if the auto build would no, I just had to reboot it. It was done. I rebooted it. 2 of them came back up on green. It's like, wait, I don't need 2 in my configuration. I just need 1. And it deleted 1. Robots. They can't be trusted.
We'll never get away from that. I feel your pain because the other day I was working on a problem. 12 hours later, we just decided to reboot the server.
Oh, you got me beat.
And it was a 12-hour call with Microsoft. And we finally just said, you know what, let's just reboot the server. In the enterprise, it's not that easy to reboot. We have to go through all this, like emergency change and stuff. I can't just reboot the server or else somebody calls me and says, why did you do that? But we did it and everything started working.
When in doubt, a reboot fixes everything.
Turns out that is the case. And that's why these products exist. I mean, they can ping like Google, and like I have mine set up at the house because we went out of town. I didn't trust at the time. Comcast was doing some really crazy stuff. Like every night my modem would just lock up. We'd lose internet. It would lock up and not sync back up with Comcast. So I brought this thing over next to the modem, plugged it in. And like while I was on vacation, what I had to do was just ping Google. When it lost Google, it would just reboot outlet number 1. And it happened a couple times while we were gone that Comcast played that little dirty trick, but I was able to recover without being on site to physically unplug the modem and plug it back in, and was able to still get back into the house, into VPNs and all that stuff while we were on our trip. So it's kind of nice to have something like this in place.
And for those of us, that don't need the big tools, I have one called the reset plug. I've had this for a number of years now. Does the same type of thing. It just pings a website. If it doesn't reply for 5 minutes, it will reboot your router or whatever, automatically send you an email, letting you know. It's kind of cool. I've had it for a while. I know there's another one from a company called ConnectSense. This does something very similar. So if you want something for your home network, it doesn't hurt to have it on there. It'll save you from some outages, if anything.
Yep, ConnectSense, the internet rebooter from ConnectSense. It's $50 over there, from friend of the show, Adam Justice. So yeah, check that out. His use case was exactly mine, but his parents here in Florida had internet problems and just need to reboot their modems, because it's not just a Florida thing, but it is a Florida thing that you just reboot your modems all the time here. And he built this product kind of around some other products that he had, but it's a really cool idea. Like, you just get this online, when the internet's down, it just reboots the modem.
Genius.
Yeah, it's simple and effective. That's what it does.
Well, a lot of people are stuck with like awful modems too. The most common use I see for something like this is when somebody has like a modem that stops working every day at 4 p.m. That's a wonderful solution for that, and they're relatively inexpensive. A lot of times the proper thing is to get that hardware replaced. But maybe it's not the hardware exactly. It's something else down the line, or, something else that's just weird. So, any solution that works is a good solution.
Yeah, that was my problem. I had my own modem, not a Comcast modem, and maybe it needs to be replaced. I don't know, but it sure looked like it was Comcast's issue, because it happened at like the exact same time every night. And then we started, they had a service ticket the next day, or a week after this happening. I see a truck working down the street. So, and it stopped amazingly. So, anyway, the difference between all like the DIY products, the ConnectSense, the little outlet rebooters and that kind of thing, is that this is like a dashboard to like organize customers, and for an aggregated like dealer or MSP or whatever to receive that information and look at it and process it part of their service. So that's kind of nice. It's a nice little dashboard, notifications, everything built into it, I guess, as you'd expect. So check it out. If you haven't checked out, haven't seen that yet, check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes. But there was a lot of chat over in the hub about it, and just wanted to bring it up because I think we kind of blew past it. And I've been kind of scared to talk about it since I've been sitting back here for like a year now.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never even heard of this, but I guess it's been hiding behind you this whole time. And you're like, we're not talking about it.
Literally every show, it's been sitting in the background back there on top of the shelf. But yeah, I can't talk about things that I signed NDAs for. So I don't. All right, guys, what do you say we jump into our HomeTech headline?
Let's do it.
This is horrible. All right, we really have nothing here, except we really wanted to bring everyone's attention to the ability to increase your PPB, which is your, what is it, price per button? Is that what we came up with, TJ?
That's right.
Yeah, so your Walmart has introduced a custom designed and engineered solution for the Pico keypad. And now if you want to flush mount a Pico keypad, you can do that. I'm shaking my head here just because I imagine this adds about, I don't know, $100 in parts plus, I don't know, what, $200 or $300 in labor to get the drywaller to cooperate. For what is this keypad? Like $30, $40 at the most? They're not expensive. I don't get it. But if you need to increase your PPB, that's very important. This is one way you can do it. TJ, you're shaking your head too.
I didn't even realize that you actually installed this in the drywall. It's an even worse idea than I thought it was originally. Like why would you install a Lutron Pico remote in the wall? Like choose anything else. Like Control 4, HomeWorks, Radio Raw 3, whatever else. Why would you do a Lutron Pico remote? Like one of the most DIY friendly remotes and lighting systems out there, and you're going to make it into a complex beast. Rashid said it's $40. I don't know if that's true, but
so the Lutron Picos are not expensive. They're like $40, but this would add a significant amount to it I'm considering the labor and everything, coordination between the trades and that kind of stuff that has to go in to get this thing to look right when you're done installing it. So like there's no like bumps around where the WallSmart device ends and the drywall begins, and it's all perfectly floated in and the paint looks right. Yeah.
Lots of work.
It's an expensive Pico.
To be fair, WallSmart makes a whole bunch of custom trims for stuff, so this is just one of their lineups. It looks clean though.
it looks very clean. They probably have the cleanest device. Like you can install Lutron keypads, Control 4 keypads, like we were talking, like TJ was suggesting, as well as like touchscreens, iPads, that kind of stuff. They have some really nice in-wall, like flush mount mounts. If you wanna do that, but yeah, this one's weird.
I'm looking at this other one, one of the Control 4 like touch panel ones too. And like, it just looks so nice in the picture, but I just know that whenever I see one of these installed, it's never going to look that nice. It's always going to have like rough edges to it or just something off about it where it's not going to look that clean.
Yeah, I've seen them at the show and they look good, but like that edge is just, to me, it's like that's something that's going to get damaged or somebody's messing around with it and, you know, it's going to get cracked. The paint's going to get chips on it or something. It seems like it's just a nightmare. Like a delicate nightmare that you have to deal with.
Oh, they even have one for the Sonos Arc. Isn't that awful? I thought the Sonos Arc was supposed to be out.
I think it's a wall mount for the Sonos Arc. But everything you're complaining about, Seth, sounds like a father. You know, like you have kids. You know exactly what they're going to do with these things. You know, like that's exactly. Your point of view.
I'm sure in a nicer house, this would be perfectly
fine. These people that buy this stuff don't have kids and have ridiculous amounts of money that they could throw around for this type of thing.
Yep, you're right. They just want it to look nice. The Sonos Arc thing looks pretty good. It's just basically a box you mount the Arc in and then put
but you're not supposed to put the Arc in a cabinet, so it's awful. Because the Atmos speakers have to like go up and down and all that good stuff. So
well, you don't get Atmos. You get a box.
You get a box with a soundbar, a super expensive soundbar.
Exactly. Well, it's even more expensive now. Now that made it look like an air conditioning register.
Some of the stuff looks nice though. Like I see the Josh AI mount. It looks nice.
Yeah, I've seen their touchscreen. Like they have a decent booth at the trade shows, and I've seen that like how the touchscreens and everything mount in. They do look good, but again. Like it looks like a delicate nightmare, and you know that's gonna break. It's like I as a technician would be scared to touch it in service, just because I'm clumsy. So
yeah, and then when you have to upgrade the device, it's like, well, okay, so before we had to just swap the mount on the wall, but now we have to cut out your whole wall to replace the bracket that we installed.
Yep, because iPads don't change, and Control 4 touchscreens don't change. Oh wait, they do. Yeah. I mean, that's always the problem in bespoke systems, right? Like you always run into stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the name of the game.
Not my thing, but it looks cool.
Yeah, it does look cool. I'll give them that. The Pico one doesn't look that cool to me, but teach their own, I suppose. The other thing we ran across was this One Sound Mini Sub 5, and I don't know. It's a small subwoofer that seems like it could be installed and in some useful places. So we thought we'd bring it up. Again, there was no news this last week. I guess, you know, if there was any news going into the holiday, they held it. And, you know, we had a holiday. There were Stranger Things on Friday. Nobody wanted to do anything but watch that. Then we have Canada Day as well. And then we head over the weekend. We have the USA Day, you know, July 4th. We're all like blowing fireworks up. So really nothing has happened. And, kind of moving on towards the trade shows, but we've got a subwoofer here, which is 20 inches square and 4 3/4 inches deep. It has a 5-inch low frequency subdriver, no branding design, and it has a French cleat mount. I don't know, I can't mix that up, but to be able to like hang it right onto the wall real tight. Looks pretty good to me. Like, seems like I would probably like slide it underneath a couch, maybe 2 of these into a decent sized room, and you can really hide the subwoofers away. It looks like you're going to need an amplifier though, but looks like a decent product. I don't have any idea how it sounds, but at least from the looks of it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I could see this easily going into like an office space or, you know, gym, somewhere where you want good quality audio, but you don't need a giant subwoofer, or you can't do something recessed. This is not the mini sub that I've been looking for though, so a little disappointed in the headline, but nice looking product.
It's not the sub mini from Sonos is what you're saying.
That's right.
Well, you know what you could do? We could take one of these things and then hook up the like trod free piece to it, right?
Yeah, the IKEA Symfonisk.
Symfonisk, yeah, that's what it's trod free. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, hook that one up, and then yeah, you've got a Sonos sub. Done.
Bam.
We've solved the problem.
Yeah, and it's saltwater resistant too. You could throw it on your ship if you got a boat, maybe a little dinghy. I don't know. Maybe you want some good sound. You live near the ocean.
That's funny that they actually point out it's IP55 rated and saltwater resistant.
That's actually not a bad thing. I mean, and something that small, if it performs, it'd be pretty good to put on yachts and that kind of thing. So they know their market and who they're trying to target. But yeah, not a bad. Saw it was kind of cute and thought we'd bring it up. And that's all we've got for our HomeTech headlines tonight, guys. Yeah, no news.
Just a lot of griping.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, let's head into the griping portion of the show here, where I complain endlessly about my Blue Iris Blues. Had to upgrade a Blue Iris install from 4 to 5 with their air quote lifetime license, which isn't really a lifetime license. Like, it just means that the version 4 is lifetime. Like, you have a lifetime license on version 4, but when they go to version 5, you got to pay for that, which is fine. It's just like, make that a little more apparent on the website when you call it a lifetime license. Anyway, the upgrade went fine, except for this warning message that comes up when you actually do the install for 5, and it says, hey, it's okay if you go ahead and uninstall 4, but make sure that you don't answer this question. That doesn't come up, but don't answer this question yes and delete all your data out, or you're going to have to just restore from backup. So I knew that was coming. I knew I'd probably do it anyway. So I backed up right before I closed down number 5 to uninstall number 4. And of course I read the questions and still didn't understand them because it wasn't the question that they said would come up. And I ended up deleting all the data anyway. Started back up, restored. No big deal, but it's actually some really cool features that you do get in Blue Iris 5. Gavin has been talking these up forever. And you can actually, like, there's a thing called Deep State that you can install to watch the cameras.
Deep Stack.
Yeah, the Deep Stack, sorry. And it's really cool. Like, it goes in and Gavin, you were explaining this earlier a little bit better than I probably can, but what it looked like to me in the settings is that you are sending like 2 or 3 images over when a motion event is detected to this other program that's running on the computer. That program figures out what that thing is and sends an answer back to Blue Iris. Is that what it's doing?
Yeah, you did actually. You surprised me how well you explained that.
Well, you explained it really well earlier. So.
Well, I'm a good teacher, yeah. So, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Deep Stack is just a web like an API endpoint. And when Blue Iris sees motion or however you configure it, it takes a bunch of pictures, sends it over to Deep Stack. Deep Stack will analyze it and then respond with, was it a cat, an animal, like a dog, whatever. And then Blue Iris then acts on the response. So it's pretty cool like that.
Yeah, it is really cool because you see like these demos that like TJ probably has one with his Turing AI thing where it's like got the little box drawn around, it says person or car or whatever. You see those demos and you're like, oh, that's, I don't think I'll ever see a camera system like that, but it's right there. It's right there in like one of the biggest DIY security camera system offerings out there. It's like, it's pretty easy to do. I installed it, I don't know, within minutes and had it up and going on at least 1 or 2 cameras within, about half hour or so, where I think it's working. It kind of, the way it works and the way it gets the events back into Blue Iris is kind of confusing, but you really have to really understand how Blue Iris like triggers an event and then goes through whatever actions come off of that event, and then like how that event gets labeled back into the database so you can go back and reference it. So you really have to understand that. And once you
Blue Iris is such a complicated product that it's one of the products I actually recommend reading the manual. It's got a really good manual, and but spend some time and skim through it. Like,
you want to read the Silmarillion while you're at it too. Like, it's such a good book.
You just say manual?
No, well,
what is a manual?
I actually read the manual because you'll find out there's little things that it does that you will never know about, such as like occupancy sensor. So you can set it up so that it can tell you if a parking spot is actually occupied or not, right? Which is kind of cool, like if you put say you're at your office, put a little camera in your window, and then you can know if the closest spot to your office door is open before you even get to the office, and then you can just park there, stuff like that. But there's so many little things it can do. It's almost too much, but when you read the manual, you'll find some nice things in there.
See, that's my biggest problem with it, is that you have those little things that you can do, and they're all like a million steps of like clicking. Yes, there's oh my gosh, they should just name it Click Iris, because like the amount of clicking you do just to change one setting, you can't just change it on one camera, you got to change it on all the cameras, and it's just click. Like it's right click, left click, right click, click, tap. They should surface up like the most popular things to like some kind of aggregated menu structure. That would be nice. But yeah, what they also should do is kind of like what you gave an example there. And it was like the thing that I was having a problem figuring out earlier was like how I have a long driveway, and I'm trying to catch a car either coming from this way or coming from that way. And based on which way it's coming from and going, I want to trigger PTZ cameras to do a different thing. And there doesn't seem to be like a recipe for that. And what they should have is a recipe for here's an empty parking space. Where is that? Is this spot empty? Is there a car parked here? Or is the car driving this way or this way? Or, that kind of thing. They don't have those recipes, and there's a million ways to do it. But it's all like a giant Rube Goldberg contraption by the time you get down to it. Like it's absolutely infuriating. And you're like, why don't you duplicate the cameras and then only use the substream on this camera? I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? Like, but you can hide all these cameras. Like, you're going to have all these ghosted cameras in here that aren't doing anything but creating events that make the other one record, or I don't know. It's way more than I want to get involved with ever again. And what would be nice is if they had some kind of like higher level, like, this is what we know people want to do because we've been making this software, and you can go in their forums and people are asking about this left and right. But for whatever reason, they're just like, no, we'll give you all the settings, and all the settings you don't need. And this setting right here, if you click it, it will crash your computer. But we're not going to tell you that. We'll give you all the settings, and you will just, Gavin, this is how ridiculous these settings are. I went in there and it was like, how big do you want your drive to be that you back everything up to? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just typing stuff in. I didn't realize that I typed in 6 terabytes. There's like a 2 terabyte drive in this computer. It took the 6 terabytes. It's like, it's complaining to me that I have over allocated space. I'm like, why is this even possible? Put a check on it. Like, that you know enough about this computer that you can turn that text red, but you can't check me while I'm putting the input in. That it's just more than, there's so many ways that you can shoot yourself with this program that I can't get around. There's no guardrails on this thing, none whatsoever.
So Blue Iris needs to protect us from the mistakes Seth will be making.
Yes,
that's what you're basically asking for. You got to pay extra for that. That's like another subscription there, because that's a lot of checks he's got to put in there.
I'm telling you, there's got to be a way that they can surface up some of these things that people want to do. And I think, like, TJ, you've talked about I'm going to forget the name of it now. The AI when you're using Turing AI. And like how easy that is to set up. And you're just basically like, you set up your cameras, you aim them, and then you put this thing in, and it's like, starts picking off people's names and associating their faces with it. And that's what I'm hoping something like Blue Iris can do, because it clearly can do that. It's got all the brains and smarts and everything. And you can put all your million different pieces together, your little Rube Goldberg machine, and the little mouse pushes over the ball, and the ball puts down the cage, and the diver jumps. Yeah, you can do all that stuff if you wanted to, but you got to do it on every single camera. And it takes like 300 clicks. And then sometimes you got to duplicate the camera and do it all over again. It
is an overcomplicated system, but once you really get to know it, you really understand it, you realize how much it can do. Like, my Blue Iris setup is integrated throughout my whole house. It's integrated with my Habitat. It's integrated with my TVs, so when someone comes up the driveway, it shows on my computers and various TVs. When someone rings the door, it shows on all my TVs. It's integrated into my dashboards that I use to control my system. So I don't actually have to go into the Blue Iris app. It's all on my dashboard. There's so many things you could do with it, but yeah, keep in mind, it's a product that's been upgraded over many years. So features are constantly added. They've had to keep backward compatibilities. It's kind of like Windows. When Mac OS came out, it was so pretty because they didn't have to worry about all this historic stuff and keep it all compatible and working. They just,
and they still don't.
Yeah, and that's what I get the sense of too, is they just say, here's a new OS. Who cares about everything before? You have to rewrite your apps, right? Where Windows has to keep so many things still working in the past that it gets ugly, right? And that's kind of how Blue Iris has come. But it's for a professional installer. It's not for the DIY person. Really,
it's for a professional DIY person.
Yeah.
It's not for professional installers, because I can tell you 99% of the technicians I worked with would look at this and just be overwhelmed on day one and not know what to do. And I think this takes like an inordinate amount of time to set up a simple NVR type setup that out of the box you can get for a lot less, but you get less features like you're saying. But if I'm just going for like simple setup, Blue Iris, oh man, I did see all the like the MQ, is it MQTT stuff that you use for? Yeah,
yes,
so.
You can integrate it with MQTT as well. You can utilize the camera's what were we calling, OnVIF profiles to take, so they can do actually all the thinking for you. But in the end, you lose things like the boundary crossing, right? Like cameras don't usually have that built in where they can detect if something crosses a boundary, do they? No, they may have some AI stuff. They'll have motion detection, and that will trigger Blue Iris to record and stuff like that. So Blue Iris takes it to the next level, but there's a learning curve, big learning curve.
Yeah, I think the lack of a logic engine too kind of threw me for a loop. Like it doesn't have, like, it's a computer, right? And it should be able to say if this condition's met and this condition met, or this and or then do this. But it's kind of got like the trigger happens and then this is here's the action to once that trigger starts, and once the trigger starts, and there's really no way to like break all that apart. And we kind of talked about that kind of in the back channel earlier of how to like work around that, and you can do it, but it's just a lot more work to kind of like is there another way I can do this? I'm thinking like in my head, like, is there another faster way I can just do this with another camera, that triggers this event and that kind of thing. So, but
that's where you got to understand the differences between a trigger and the action. So you have the trigger and then it does a bunch of stuff to determine if the action should be fired. So you can have stuff happen at the trigger phase or happen at the action phase, right? Like an action is something like it fires after it's confirmed that it's a dog on your lawn taking a poop, like then the action gets executed.
This is what the double stack will get you. I mean, the double stack is great.
Yeah, deep stack. But yeah, that's exactly what you got to understand. That's why I say the manual is very valuable, but if you don't have time for the manual, seriously, don't even bother with this product,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and TJ made the classic integrator joke, like, what's a manual? Like, yeah, integrators don't we can just go in blazing. Like there's a manual, it's the first thing that's thrown in the trash before we leave the office.
And for anybody that's really gonna jump into Blue Iris, wants to play with it, I highly recommend finding the article about setting up performance tweaks, right? Using the multiple streams, because when I first set it up, I was stubborn. I didn't think this would actually help. My PC was running at 80-90% constantly with the cameras going. And then I did all the performance tweaks and it got it down to less than 20%. It really helps. And even with speed and stuff like that. And you might want to get a GPU too to do the processing if you're going to get into deep stack, right? So the bigger the more memory on your GPU, the better, because if you're going to get into custom models, every custom model requires more memory, right? So it all depends on how far you want to go with it.
Yeah, I will say some of the really cool things I did like about this. When you play back, there's a way when you play back a clip, you can actually adjust the motion detection or the AI detection, and then like play back a clip of that camera to review the changes you've made and how they would apply to that event have taken place with this video. I don't think there's a professional system I know of that can do that or that has that feature, but that really helps. Like I could let this thing just record a bunch of stuff, come back a couple of days later, and now I've got like traffic going through. I've got people walking through, and I can go back and find those and say, okay, well, let me just set something up that I know will go off with the mailman pulling up and getting out, or the dog taking a poop on the lawn. Like you can do that with this system, and it gives you the option to do it and test it, which I really did like and appreciate. But man, there's so many fiddly things that you can do with this. It's unbelievable. It really is powerful, but it's settings, man. Here's all the settings, every setting you want. Here's a way to do it.
Yeah, that's where the trade-off is, like the power versus the settings. Like everybody wants it to do everything, and it pretty much can do everything, but how do you make a good interface? It's hard, right? With everything there.
Yep. And then I get over here, and you have a little note here that the deep state is going away, and is getting replaced by the Sense AI, which
yes.
Well, and then you're like, oh yeah, they're getting rid of that thing that you set up today. You spent all that time setting up, and I'm like, no, Gavin, this can't happen. What is this about?
Yeah, they actually said in their documentation that they're getting deprecating.
That I didn't read.
Deep stack.
Let me just say it didn't get read. It didn't happen.
And it was kind of funny because I first saw it on Reddit, and then people were ripping this guy about, where'd you hear this from? They're deprecating deep stack, and he actually quoted the actual manual. So I'm not the only one that reads it. He quoted the page and the manual, and what it looks like they're replacing it with an open source project called Sense AI. And that is pretty much a plugin for DeepStack. Like it'll work pretty much the same way. It's just a different, I guess, algorithm. And the developers seem a lot more in touch and working with the community to get it right. So it's not going to be replaced like today or tomorrow, but I think it's still like months away. But probably by end of year, you'll probably see Sense AI probably start taking over.
I wonder if this is actually pronounced Sensei.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, man, that's a great opportunity right there.
I'll pass along the feedback.
Yeah, so hopefully, if worse comes to worse, and the deep state goes away, then I'll be stuck with
DeepStack
Sensei, or Sense AI, and then I can just swap. Because that actually was easy to set that up. It was actually easier than I thought it was going to be, because you just have to go in and like. You're gonna use this. Well, I'll just use this. I'll click this button here that says I'm gonna use double stack, deep state. There we go, deep stack, double state. Got it. All right, man, that's confusing.
The Sense AI will actually be just a plugin. All you'll have to do is like it'll be easy to replace it. You just gotta change the port number, and it will now use Sense AI. You can actually have both of them running at the same time if you want. And flip back and forth. It's still a ways away though.
Yeah. Well, it looks pretty cool. The thing that I set up and how easily that comes back and gets rendered inside of the cameras that, are old. They're old cameras. They were just at this job a long time ago. So like, this is just a software update, and you get all this free features kind of from using the same software. The client doesn't ever see anything different. It still integrates. Like, what initially I was using this for was taking some older cameras and bringing them to the Control4 interface, because Blue Iris can actually take in the high def camera feeds and then re-encode them and spit them back out for other things to look at a lower rate, like Control4 touch panels. So the Control4 has a driver for it, works really well, and you can actually just use it to consume all of the cameras that are compatible with it, and then spit out, just I guess it's RTSP stream of generic web camera views that Control4 can pick up and use. So it's kind of nice.
Yep, there's so much you could do with it. Like, I have it set up so I have all my cameras recording 24/7, but then I have copies of those cameras, and they don't add any extra CPU resources. A copy just uses the same stream, but the copies are just for the alerts and stuff. So the 24/7 doesn't flood my timelines. If I ever need to refer to the 24/7, I could just go back and look at that. But all I deal with are the cameras with the alerts on it, and it works really nice. So it's about 20 cameras doing recording and alerts, and my CPU is very low.
Yeah. And you can actually set that up to record 24/7, but only for so much memory. And then for the events, you can actually save the events off. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can configure this. And it's actually pretty easy to do that. That's actually one of the most basic things you can do when you start setting the thing up, is go in and tell it how you want the clips to be handled. And not only do they give you like 3 different ways, no, that's not good enough, Gavin. They give you like the 20 or 30 different options that you can just like, no, but next, after 25 days, I'm going to store these on an FTP site. Like, you can do that. It's absolutely insane. How many options are built into this one program.
Well, if you get sick of it, you can contract contract me out, and I'll set it up for you and send you an invoice.
I will send. I
I'm
will
not
send
cheap,
it to
though.
you.
I am not
do
cheap.
do not joke about this, my friend.
I am not cheap.
That is
I'm
worth
just
it.
telling you.
You don't even you don't understand.
You just saved Seth thousands of hours.
You totally did. Yes, you did. Good luck.
What did I just say? Oh boy.
Yeah, Gavin's services are going to be utilized now. Woohoo!
Man, you're already being utilized as an Unraid server guy. Now you're a Blue Iris guy. You're a HomeTech guy.
I realize I'm giving you guys too much free work.
Warm up your invoices, Gavin. This is coming your way.
I need to create a banner first.
Yeah, exactly. Need a contract.
Pay you in Tim Hortons gift cards.
Yeah, which I'll never be able to use because they don't have them at the airport. Oh, man. All right. Well, all the links and topics we discussed tonight, including the deep state, will be in our show notes over there at HomeTech.fm/394.
Deep stack.
All right, guys. Not much happened in the news this week and with Seth's complaints this week, but I did find this really cool pick of the week, and I absolutely fell in love with this. I have all of these DVDs sitting in my house that I've ripped using my drive. They're on my Plex server now. I don't need these DVDs anymore. What are we going to do with these things? This is brilliant. You've heard of the little libraries that people have out in front of their homes that you walk up and you grab a book out of there. Why not grab a DVD out of there? Somebody's done it. They have a little blue box that they stole from it looks like one of those newspaper boxes, and they spray painted Blockbuster blue with a little Blockbuster tag on it. And you open it up and there's all these little DVDs in there. How cute is that? I totally want to do this. This is just brilliant.
I don't know if this would work in my neighborhood.
You rent it, you watch the DVD, you bring it back, you put it in.
Yeah, nobody's gonna bring it
back.
back.
I'm looking at this. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at this box and I see Star Wars. Right, it looks like the first trilogy. It looks like so. In my neighborhood, they would probably take that and then leave a note that they're looking for 5, 6, 7, or the second trilogy. And you still would not return it.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a trust system. And it's probably, if it's a Star Wars on DVD, it's probably the ones with the stormtroopers all have walkie-talkies instead of laser blasters. They really botch those movies up anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. But I don't know. I think this would be fun. People read books, but people watch movies. We should do this. This should be something in neighborhoods.
Another thing to think of, Seth, in Florida, it's really hot. Putting DVDs in a hot box is not a good thing. I'm just saying, it sounds like a good idea until the DVD's warped.
What's hilarious about this is they have an actual website, freeblockbuster.org. And they actually have a section on there where you can found your own franchise, which involves finding a random box, painting it, taking pictures of it, and then letting them know where it's at. And they actually have a locator, so you can see where all of them are located in the United States.
So I can build up my free DVD collection.
They have a couple in Canada. Looks like they have 1 or 2 in Mexico.
Oh my gosh, there's one in Orlando.
So I mean, they're international.
What's the website again?
Freeblockbuster.org. Let's see if there's one near me. There's not one near me, but there's several in Cincinnati. Okay, that's funny.
It's a 2-hour drive to Orlando for me, but
when I'm down there this winter,
yeah,
I'm gonna hit it up.
There you go. You get that Harry Potter movie there on top and return it before you leave. All good to go.
The bad thing is I would spend money on this because I would have to buy DVDs in order to put into it. So because I don't own any DVDs.
Oh yeah,
maybe it's just a link to my Plex server or something.
Well, that's what I was thinking when you guys were saying. It's what am I going to do? Put a link to a Plex server in here? That's just crazy.
We'll start a new one for just Netflix.
Exactly.
Free Netflix.
Free Netflix. That's you remember the at one point there were DVDs, all these AOL DVDs that you would get, just thousands of them. And at some point, when I was at Circuit City, they started to flood the store with these things. But then we figured out hey, these boxes are great for holding DVDs. So we just take handfuls or boxes of these free DVD cases that we got that said, call AOL, and we just take the AOL sleeves out, put our own sleeves in, put our own burn discs in, good to go. We have a full DVD collection. So good times.
Well, and I just read an article the other day too about it was from Engadget about how CDs are coming back. So I guess this is fitting that we would come across this now.
Interesting. Well, I may have to do this, especially with some of the older DVDs that I have. I'll have to find one of these boxes though. That's going to be the fun part. I mean, I know where I can find one of these boxes.
Oh, you're in Florida. Just go take one. Nobody's going to say anything.
Nobody's going to care. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to do it legit, I think. And oh, they even have T-shirts. Well, guys, buying one of those right now. So
yeah, who runs this?
This is great. This is amazing.
Oh,
All
shoot.
right.
You can even buy a box already made up. $229, free shipping.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that invested in
You
it.
get a deluxe one for $259. That's hilarious.
They even have membership cards. Oh, this is
Yeah,
great.
founder's kit. Man.
They have VHS tapes.
What?
Comfortable.
I'm seeing one of their press release pictures of VHS tape. I'm like, that's great.
Comfortably holds 50 DVD cases or 25 VHS tapes.
I mean, comfortably, the picture that we have is just they're thrown in there. There's no organization at all. This is too good. I think I'm gonna have to do this. I'll stick it out there. I'm sure that the homeowners association won't care that there's a blue box that saws free movies on it, and we'll go from there. See what happens.
Put free adult movies on it and see what they say.
Who knows? Yeah, I was gonna say this is Florida. There's a Florida joke in here somewhere, but it's probably not the direction we want to go on the show. So. All right. Well, if you have any ideas about a free movie campaign or picks of the week or great ideas for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm. Or you can visit us at HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, guys, that wraps up another week. Yeah, not bad. I didn't think we were going to talk about much.
Oh, that was 50 minutes of nothing.
How did we do that?
I don't know. Nothing is a big topic.
I guess so. Yeah, we had 2 stories to not even talk about tonight, and we managed to fill up 50 minutes. So, wow. Yeah, we and also we've been on like talking to each other for another hour and a half before that. So we do chat quite a bit. We need to get our HomeTech therapy sessions back for Greg and up and going this week. So keep an eye out in the hub if you're a member in there. We should be pushing those links out towards the end of the week here. Thursday or Friday, I'm gonna do a survey to see what day is better. But
yeah, over the long weekend, I saw him crying a bit. Like he needed some help. Unfortunately, I had lawns to cut, couldn't step in there. But maybe this week.
That's just what he does.
Well, we'll make sure we get that up and rolling this week, and get back into having our little therapy scream sessions, and help out everybody who needs help. So it should be fun. We do want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, the Hub, where you can go in there and talk about like products that we probably should have talked about a month ago. There's really a lot of conversations around it. So yeah, anyway, if you want to help out but can't support the show financially, totally appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or positive rating in your podcast app of your choice. It is pouring here, and I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder and everything behind me and slamming on the garage door, but that wraps up another week in Home Tech. From everyone here, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
I'm not saying anything anymore. Yeah.
I miss it.
That's all I do.
It's a podcast, man. It's a podcast.
It's always clunky when Gavin and I say it together.
All right.